Don't answer the trees. The fire had burned down to that low orange glow, where the woods feel closer than they should. You know the point, when the trees stop looking like trees and start looking like things pretending to be trees. There's a hiking trail up in the mountains that doesn't show up on maps anymore. Used to be popular, then people stopped going. No official reason, just fewer hikers every year. Locals say if you do take it, there's one rule. If you hear your name called from the trees after sunset, do not answer. Simple rule, almost stupidly simple, which means someone always breaks it. 3 friends went up there one fall. Not reckless, just bored. City people. They'd heard the rumor, laughed about it, packed beer and a tent, and that very confident belief that nothing bad ever happens to people who think nothing bad will happen. They hiked all afternoon. Trail was normal, quiet. Too quiet if you want to be dramatic, but everything's too quiet when you're trying to sound brave. They set up camp near a small clearing, fire going. Sun drops, woods get that heavy stillness. No wind, no insects, just the sound of their own talking. Around maybe 9:30, one of them hears it. A voice somewhere behind the trees. Daniel. Clear as day, same tone his girlfriend uses when she's annoyed at him for leaving dishes in the sink. He laughs. You guys heard that, right? The other 2 didn't. They think he's messing with them. He shrugs it off. Probably an echo from another campsite. Sound travels weird in the mountains. They keep talking. 10 minutes later, it happens again. Same direction, same voice. Daniel. Closer this time. Now the other 2 go quiet, because they hear it too. It sounds normal, not ghostly, not distorted, just a person calling from the woods, patient, familiar. One friend remembers the rule, the stupid little local rule they joked about earlier. Don't answer if you hear your name. They sit there, nobody speaks. Fire pops. Then, from deeper in the trees, another voice. Marcus. Now it's calling the second friend. Same thing, familiar tone, his brother's voice, exactly right, same slight rasp. Then a third. Lena. All 3 of them, sitting there, staring into the dark, hearing people they know calling them from beyond the firelight. And here's the worst part. Each voice sounds slightly concerned, like they're looking for them, like they're close to finding them, like if they just answered, it would all make sense. Nobody moves, nobody answers, because suddenly that rule doesn't feel like a joke anymore. They decide to ignore it, just stay quiet. Eventually, the voices stop. After maybe 20 minutes, the woods go completely silent again. Not normal quiet, dead quiet, the kind that presses on your ears. They don't sleep much that night. Around 2 a.m., one of them wakes up to use the bathroom, steps just beyond the circle of firelight, doesn't go far, doesn't need to. While he's standing there, facing the trees, he hears something behind him. A whisper, right next to his ear. Daniel, why didn't you answer? He spins around, nobody there. Fire still burning low, his friends still in their sleeping bags. He doesn't tell them, doesn't want to freak them out more. He just gets back into the tent and stares at the ceiling until morning. At sunrise, they pack up and leave. No one mentions the voices. Everyone wants to pretend it was wind or echoes or collective paranoia. They hike out faster than they hiked in. About halfway down the trail, they see another group of hikers coming up, a couple and a park ranger. The ranger stops them, asks if they camped up there last night. They say yes. He asks very calmly, "Did anyone call your names?" Nobody answers, which is funny because that's the one time they probably should have. The ranger nods anyway, like he already knows.
He tells them something that's been passed around by locals for years. Apparently, if you hear your name and you answer, the voice keeps talking. It asks where you are. It asks if you're alone. It asks you to come closer so it can see you. And if you follow it into the trees, people don't find you. Not right away. Sometimes they find you standing somewhere off trail, days later, alive, just wrong, quiet, like you're listening to something no one else can hear. Sometimes they find you deeper in the woods than you could have walked, and sometimes hikers report hearing new voices in the trees, voices that sound like people who went missing. The three friends made it back to their car, drove home, never went camping together again. Just one of those trips that quietly ends friendships. A week later, Lena gets a voicemail. No caller ID, just static for a few seconds. Then a voice, her own voice, soft, patient, familiar. "Lena, I think I'm lost. Can you answer me?" She deletes it, tells herself it's a prank, some glitch, some coincidence. That night, around 1 a.m., her phone rings again. Unknown number. She doesn't pick up. It goes to voicemail. She listens the next morning. It's quieter this time, closer, like the speaker is right next to the microphone. Her own voice again. "Lena, I'm right outside. Why aren't you answering?" She checks her call history. The call came from her own number, same timestamp, same duration. And ever since then, every few weeks, she gets another voicemail, each one a little closer, each one a little more impatient. Last one just said, "I conceive the fire."
You stopped. There's a service road behind a national park that rangers don't use anymore. Still drivable, still technically open, just ignored. Locals have one rule about it. If you ever see your own car parked ahead of you on that road, do not stop, do not honk, do not get out. Just keep driving. Which sounds ridiculous until you realize how specific that is. Rules don't get that specific without a reason. A guy named Idris was driving back from a late fishing trip. Midnight, no traffic, just his headlights and miles of forest on both sides. He took the service road as a shortcut because people love shaving 10 minutes off their lives. About 10 minutes in, he sees taillights up ahead. Same model as his car, same color, same dent on the rear bumper. He laughs. Coincidence. Lots of people own the same car. Except as he gets closer, he sees the license plate. His license plate. Now, Idris is a rational person, which is just a fancy way of saying he tries to explain things even when they don't deserve explanations. He slows down, thinks maybe someone stole a duplicate plate. Maybe he's tired. Maybe reflections are weird. The car ahead is parked crooked across the road. Driver's door open. Interior light on. No one inside. Engine off. He stops about 20 meters back because curiosity always wins. He flashes his headlights. Nothing. Then he hears it. A voice from the trees to his right. "Idris!" His own voice, exactly his own voice, same tone, same slight accent, same everything. "Idris, I'm over here. Car broke down." He freezes, because now he remembers the local rule, the stupid, very specific rule. If you see your own car ahead of you, do not stop, do not honk, do not get out. Just keep driving. He tells himself it's a prank, someone messing with him, voice mimicry, speakers in the woods. Very elaborate, very unlikely, but the human brain will cling to nonsense before accepting something worse. The voice calls again, closer this time, from behind him. "Idris, you left me." He turns slowly toward his rearview mirror. In the back seat of his car, something is sitting up. It's him.
Same clothes, same face, same small scar above the eyebrow, but the expression is wrong, too still, too patient, like it's been waiting a long time for him to notice. The thing in the back seat tilts its head. "You stopped," it says. Same voice, his voice, calm, disappointed. Idris slams the car into drive and floors it, doesn't look back, doesn't check mirrors, just drives. The parked car ahead disappears in his headlights as he speeds past it. For a split second he sees inside, someone sitting in the driver's seat, watching him go. He doesn't stop driving until he hits the main highway. Lights, other cars, civilization. He pulls over, shaking, heart trying to escape through his throat. Back seat is empty. Of course it is. Reality politely rearranging itself so he doesn't lose his mind in a ditch. He goes home, doesn't tell anyone, because how do you tell that story without sounding like you licked a cursed rock? A week passes, then 2. Then, one night, he's brushing his teeth and hears his phone buzz in the bedroom. Unknown number. He ignores it. Voicemail comes in. He plays it. Static for a few seconds. Then his own voice, calm, patient. "You drove away too fast. I couldn't switch with you." He deletes it, laughs nervously. Sleep becomes optional. Calls keep coming, always from his own number, always his voice, always a little closer to sounding irritated. One message just says, "Next time I'll be in the passenger seat." He sells the car, moves apartments, changes number, tries to outrun the feeling that something almost replaced him and is annoyed it didn't get the chance. Months later, he's on a late bus home from work, half asleep, city lights passing by. He glances out the window as the bus turns onto a quiet road near the park. There, parked on the side of the road ahead, is a familiar car. Same model, same color, same dent on the rear bumper. Driver's door open, interior light on. As the bus passes, he sees someone sitting inside. It's him. The thing in the car looks up and smiles, slow, relieved, like it finally caught up. Idris jerks back in his seat, heart slamming, tells himself he imagined it, exhaustion, stress, too many horror stories. Then he notices something. Across the aisle, in the dark reflection of the bus window, there are 2 of him sitting side by side. One is breathing, the other is smiling. And from somewhere very close to his ear, a voice he knows better than any other whispers, "You stopped once. That's enough."
The head count after midnight. There's a campground up north that only has one ranger on duty overnight. Small place, just a loop of campsites around a lake and a wooden check-in board near the entrance. Nothing fancy, no gate, no cameras, just a whiteboard where the ranger writes the number of campers each night. Every ranger who works there gets told one rule on their first shift. At 12 a.m., walk the loop and count every person at every campsite. If your total is higher than the number on the board, leave immediately. Do not recount. Do not wake anyone. Just leave. Naturally, most new rangers assume this is a hazing thing, a spooky tradition to mess with the new hire, because humans love dismissing warnings right up until the warning becomes a problem. A ranger named Cohen took the night shift one summer. Quiet guy, practical, not easily rattled, perfect candidate to ignore rules that might save his life. His first few nights were boring. Campers roasting marshmallows, couples in tents, someone playing a guitar badly. He'd do the midnight head count, numbers matched, go back to the cabin, drink coffee, scroll his phone. Easy money.
Then one Thursday night, the board says 27 campers. At 12 a.m., he grabs a flashlight and starts his walk. Campsite 1, family of 4. Campsite 2, 2 hikers. Campsite 3, empty. Campsite 4, 3 college kids. He counts quietly, methodical, writes tallies on a small notepad. The lake is still. No wind, no insects, just the crunch of his boots on gravel. By the time he reaches the last campsite, his total is 27, matches the board. He heads back toward the entrance, ready to call it a night. Halfway there, he passes a picnic table he could swear was empty earlier. Now someone's sitting at it, back turned, hoodie up, just sitting. Cohen stops, because he knows every campsite, every table. That spot was empty 10 minutes ago. He shines his flashlight. The person doesn't move. "Camp's closed for new arrivals," he says. "You need a permit." No response. He takes a step closer. The figure slowly raises one hand and points toward the woods, not at anything specific, just into the trees. Cohen follows the gesture with his light. Nothing there, just trunks and darkness. When he looks back at the table, the person is gone. Didn't stand up, didn't walk away, just gone. Cohen stands there for a long time, brain trying to assemble a logical explanation out of nothing. Sleepwalker, prank, he missed them earlier. Sure, fine, whatever helps. He goes back to the ranger cabin. Then he looks at his notepad. He counted 28. He checks again, slow, careful, sight by sight. The board still says 27. He remembers the rule, very clear, very simple. If your total is higher than the board, leave immediately. Do not recount. Do not wake anyone. Just leave. So naturally, he recounts, because humans are like that. He walks the loop again, faster this time, flashlight shaking slightly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything looks normal. Campers sleeping, tents zipped, fire pits dying out. He finishes, 28, same number. He's standing near the lake now, water flat as glass, moon reflecting off it. He can see the reflections of the campsites behind him. In the reflection, there are 29 people. He turns slowly. The shoreline behind him is empty. He looks back at the lake. 29 reflections, all standing, all facing him, even though no one is actually there. Then one of the reflections raises its hand and waves. Cohen doesn't wave back. He finally listens to the rule. He turns and walks, not runs, just walks steadily to his truck. Doesn't look behind him, doesn't check the lake again, doesn't go back to the cabin for his jacket or his coffee or his dignity. He drives straight out of the campground. As he passes the check-in board at the entrance, he glances at it in his headlights. The number has changed. It now reads 28. He stops the truck, because of course he does, because curiosity is a disease. In the reflection of his windshield, someone is sitting in the passenger seat, wet, pale, looking at him with mild confusion. "Why did you leave one of us behind?" it asks. He slams the gas and doesn't stop until he hits the highway. He quits the next morning, doesn't explain, just hands in his badge and leaves town. The campground stays open, new ranger hired, same rule, same board. Couple months later, a group of campers arrive late and can't find a ranger to check them in. Cabin's empty, lights on, coffee still warm, but the board at the entrance has a number written on it in neat marker, 28 campers. Under it, in smaller writing, someone clearly added later, 29 after midnight. If you ever camp there and wake up in the night, you might hear someone walking past your tent, slow, careful, counting under their breath. You can zip the tent and look if you want. Just remember to count how many people you see. Then count how many reflections are in the lake. And whatever number you get, don't fall asleep until morning, because the head count happens whether you're awake for it or not.
The Watchtower Light.
There's an old fire watchtower deep inside a protected forest reserve, built in the 1950s, back when people still believed one person with binoculars could stop an entire wildfire. The tower isn't used anymore, officially abandoned. Unofficially, every summer they still hire someone to stay there for 1 week. No advertising, no online listing, just word of mouth and temporary contracts. Because once every few years, the light turns on again. And when it does, someone has to be inside the tower. Ethan took the job because it paid well and required zero human interaction. 1 week alone in the woods, watching for fires that didn't exist. Easy. The ranger who drove him out barely spoke, just handed him a key and a folded sheet of paper. Rules. Of course there were rules. Rule 1, turn the tower light on at sunset. Rule 2, turn it off at sunrise. Rule 3, if you see another light in the forest after midnight, close the blinds immediately. Rule 4, do not respond to signals from the ground. Rule 5, if someone begins climbing the stairs after 2 a.m., do not look down through the center ladder shaft. Ethan laughed. Who's climbing a tower in the middle of nowhere? The ranger didn't laugh back. People who think you're replacing them. Then he drove away. The first 2 nights were peaceful. Wind through trees, owls calling, endless darkness stretching in every direction. From the tower, the forest looked like an ocean frozen mid-wave. At sunset on the 3rd night, Ethan switched on the massive floodlight atop the tower. The beam cut across miles of forest. Beautiful, lonely, wrong somehow. Around 12:40 a.m., he noticed it, a second light, far out among the trees, small, white, moving slowly. Probably hikers, he told himself, someone camping illegally. Then the light stopped moving and blinked once, twice, 3 times, like a signal. Rule 3. He shut the blinds immediately. His heart was beating harder now. The forest suddenly felt aware of him, like the darkness had noticed the tower noticing back. He made coffee, tried distracting himself. At 2:07 a.m., he heard it. Metal, a faint clang from below, then another. Someone stepping on to the tower stairs. The climb to the watchroom took nearly 5 minutes, even for someone athletic, hundreds of metal steps spiraling upward. He waited for laughter, for voices. Nothing, just climbing, slow, steady, heavy footsteps echoing upward. Rule 5 surfaced in his mind. If someone begins climbing after 2 a.m., do not look down through the center ladder shaft, which naturally made him want to look more than anything in the world. The footsteps continued, halfway up now. Clang, clang, clang. Too slow to be normal, like whoever was climbing had all the time in existence.
Then a voice drifted upward. "Hello." Relief flooded him. Human, finally. "Thank God," the voice said. "You turned the light back on." Ethan froze. "Back on?" The climber continued. "You shouldn't have done that." Closer now. "I turned it off. I locked the door." The footsteps stopped directly beneath the floor, right under him. Silence. Then, "You still up there?" Every nerve in Ethan's body screamed. He backed away from the center of the tower. The voice spoke again, calmer now, resigned. "That means it didn't let me leave." Something began climbing again, faster, much faster, metal shaking violently as footsteps raced upward. Ethan grabbed the rule sheet with shaking hands. One rule he hadn't noticed before was written at the bottom in different handwriting. Rule 6. There must always be someone in the tower when the light is on. The handle below him rattled, hard, someone trying to open the hatch. "Please," the voice begged, his voice, exactly his voice. "I've been here since last summer." The hatch burst open. Ethan ran for the stairs leading down the outside platform without looking back. He broke Rule 5 completely. Panic doesn't respect paperwork. As he fled down the spiral staircase, he glanced upward once. Someone stood in the watchroom doorway. Same clothes, same face, watching calmly, relieved. Behind him, the tower light shut off. Instant darkness swallowed the forest. Ethan ran until sunrise. Rangers found him miles away on the road, barefoot, hysterical, repeating one sentence, "Turn it off before night." They drove back to the tower. Empty, no sign of another person, but the light was already on again. That summer, a new temporary watchman was hired. When he arrived, he found a folded rule sheet waiting on the desk, and carved faintly in the wooden wall beside the window were dozens of tally marks. At the bottom, one fresh message scratched deep enough to splinter the wood. "Don't let it see you leave." Every night since then, hikers sometimes report seeing the watchtower light sweeping across the forest long after the station officially closed. And if you're camping nearby, sometime after 2 a.m., you might notice a second light moving through the trees, climbing, looking for the tower, looking for whoever turned the light on last.
The empty tent rule. There's a remote desert campground along an old highway that truckers used back in the 70s. Most people don't stop there anymore. Too isolated, no signal, no nearby town for almost 80 kilometers. But travelers still end up there when night driving gets dangerous. At the entrance stands a faded wooden sign. Under the campground map, someone spray-painted a warning: "Do not sleep next to an empty tent." Nobody knows who wrote it. Most people assume teenagers or drugs. Humans prefer stupid explanations. A group of 4 friends stopped there during a road trip. Midnight, exhausted, headlights barely cutting through dust and darkness. Only 3 tents were already set up in the campground. Strange thing was, no cars, just tents, zipped shut, no lights inside, no sound. The place felt abandoned halfway through being used. They joked about it while setting up camp. One guy, Tunde, picked the last available space, unfortunately, right beside one of the silent tents. He knocked lightly on it. "Hello?" No answer. Fabric cold, slack, definitely empty.
They shrugged it off. Maybe hikers out late, maybe bathrooms somewhere in the dark. They made a fire, ate noodles, told stories, normal night energy slowly fading into tired silence. Around 1:30 a.m., the wind died completely. Not slowed, stopped. And that's when they heard breathing. Close, too close. Tunde sat up in his tent. The sound was coming from outside, slow inhaling, wet, patient. He unzipped slightly and looked out. The neighboring tent was moving, not from wind, from something shifting inside. The fabric pressed outward briefly, like a shoulder leaning against it. Then stillness. He whispered to his friends. They came out with flashlights. They shined beams at the tent, silent, zipped exactly how it had been before. One friend laughed nervously. Animal, maybe? Then they noticed something worse. Footprints in the sand, leading toward the tent, none leading away. They decided not to investigate further. Smartest decision humans ever make always comes slightly too late. Everyone went back to sleep, or tried to. At 2:17 a.m., another sound woke them. A zipper, slowly opening. Not theirs. The empty tent's zipper slid down inch by inch. No hands visible, just darkness opening. All four of them watched frozen from their tents. Something crawled out. Not stood, crawled. Too long, limbs bending wrong, moving carefully like it was unused to gravity. It stopped halfway out and turned its head toward them. Even in darkness, they knew it was looking directly at Tunde. Then it spoke, in Tunde's voice, "Wrong tent." It dragged itself fully into the open, and behind it another shape began pushing outward from inside the tent. Another person, then another, like the tent contained far more space than physically possible. Each figure crawled out slowly, stretching stiff limbs, breathing deeply like people waking up after long sleep. All of them whispering different names, testing voices, trying them on. The friends ran for the car, no discussion, pure survival instinct. As headlights flooded the campground, they saw something horrifying. Every tent now had movement inside. Dozens of silhouettes pressing against fabric walls, trying to come out. They sped onto the highway without packing anything, didn't stop driving until sunrise. At the next town, they checked the news while shaking over bad coffee. There was an article pinned behind the counter, years old, about travelers disappearing along that highway. Search teams often found abandoned campsites, cars gone, gear untouched, tents still standing, always one extra tent investigators couldn't account for. The locals had added the warning afterward, because survivors reported the same thing. If you sleep beside an empty tent, something inside spends the night learning you. Weeks later, Tunde unpacked his backpack at home. At the bottom was sand from the campground. Mixed in it was a small metal tag from a rental tent, stamped with faded letters. Site 12, occupant count 5. They had only been 4. That night, while trying to sleep, Tunde heard fabric rustling beside his bed, soft zipper teeth sliding open, and his own voice whispering from the dark corner of the room, "This one fits better."